The Wuthering Waves closed beta test had highs, lows, and everything in between. After a couple of weeks of devouring everything there was to offer in the test, we've simplified our review to the top 5 things we'd like to see improved for the full release of Wuthering Waves. Number 5. The character designs. When the closed beta test was released, we were very impressed with how much the character models improved since the technical test. From minor tweaks to complete redesigns, it's clear that Kuro Game values memorable, interesting characters, and so do we. However, there's still room for improvement. Despite the diverse cast, there are only 3 or 4 model skeletons. While we do understand that it's very labor-intensive to add unique skeletons to a game that has so much traversal animation, we can't help but want at least more running and standing animations for each character. For example, take Danjin and Yinlin. Danjin is energetic, earnest, and sometimes a bit out of it. Yinlin, on the other hand, is authoritative, confident, and has a frightening sadistic streak. But when running across the terrain or standing still, the two have the same generic run, stand, and empty-eyed neutral expression. Compare this to Kuro's other game, Punishing Grey Raven. There, every single character has unique running and standing animations, all brimming with personality. These animations speak volumes as to what each character is like without saying a word. We would love to see that same level of care put into Wuthering Waves characters, because right now each character in their respective category feels interchangeable. While we wouldn't expect each character to have an entirely unique set of animations, such as for climbing or grappling, the fact is that every kid Naruto running is going to get old fast. In the same vein, we're looking forward to a wider set of character voice lines.
Blink, you miss.
We really like the English voices for the characters, but hearing the same lines over and over does start to wear out its welcome.
An unexpected discovery.
Reducing the frequency of voice line triggers as well as adding more variety is a simple fix we expect to see by the final release. Number 4. The Overworld Experience. When we first entered into Wuthering Waves, we were struck by how effortless and delightful traversal was. Dashing over fields, running up cliffs, and rappelling through the air made us feel so powerful. What made it better was the gorgeous environment we had been dropped into. Clearly affected by an apocalypse we had yet to understand, we marveled at the beautiful, rocky landscapes, teeming with bioluminescent flowers, natural animal life, and fearsome foes. The tacit fields deserve a special mention, where the flora and fauna are scorched away, leaving only crystalline growths behind, including these eerie humanoid figures. Water droplets hover in the air, slowly pulling upward towards the dark, ocean-washed sky. However, after spending 10 or so hours exploring the world, we began to see many of these features repeated all too often. What may help with this is to introduce more diverse biomes and microclimates to the world. For example, a swamp or desert would not feel out of place in this landscape, or perhaps snowfall in the high altitude areas. A weather system wouldn't go amiss either, as sunshine, rain, and fog can make a huge difference to a landscape. Of course, this must be done with caution, as cramming too many wildly different settings can cause its own problems, but we believe in Kuro's ability to pull off such a feat. Filling the world with more NPCs and adding moving vehicles to the roads would also help make the world feel a bit more alive. Another part of the Overworld experience are the things to do. While there certainly was a high density of puzzles and monsters to fight in every direction, we found that the same simple types of puzzles and monsters appeared over and over again. They aren't particularly challenging, which is fine, but we would like more variety. The levitating puzzles were especially frustrating, as levitation items felt like holding onto a fish with your hands smeared in butter. The slightest bump caused our exploding crystals to disappear, or our batteries to be unceremoniously hurled across the room. Hopefully, this is just a bug, and jumping and climbing will be able to be done one-handed. As for the monsters, the overworld monsters scaled to your world's level, so you could easily predict how tough a fight was before you jumped in. However, we found ourselves craving some really tough overworld monsters. Not bosses or tacit-type fields, which you were expected to beat, but rather overpowered creatures that you need to avoid. This is done quite well in other games, such as Elden Ring, where you feel your blood run cold when catching sight of a revenant. Eventually, players would be able to defeat such fearsome enemies through power, skill, or teamwork, and feel a sense of pride when they do so. Speaking of teamwork, playing co-op with your friends has a lot of potential, but isn't quite there yet. You can collect echoes together, fight bosses, and uncover parts of the world map, but you can't progress quests or solve puzzles, which hopefully will be fixed in the next iteration of the game. Echo collecting as a group is fun, since each player will have an individual chance to catch the echoes depending on their terminal level. However, there are some roadblocks in the echo hunting process which we'll discuss in more detail later. In co-op, bosses are a little tougher to make up for the multiple players on the field. It was harder to time the parries and it was difficult to predict who the boss would go after. Bosses who teleport were especially awkward. You can only have 3 characters in a team, meaning you will only have access to 1 or 2 characters when playing co-op. That normally wouldn't be a problem, except you can't access QTEs, which removes an important gameplay element. Normally your healing moves heal your entire party, but in co-op you can't seem to do anything for your allies, meaning they'll have to rely on awkward to use potions to survive if they didn't bring a healer. Having fun with friends can really make or break live service games, so adding more things to do in co-op, letting you ping a shared map, and allowing main story quest progression in groups would really pull the friendship experience together. Oh, and please add a fishing minigame. Number 3. The user interface design. Menus, menus, menus. Why are there so many menus? The UI and UX design is a place where Wuthering Waves has huge room for improvement. We're really hoping what we're seeing here is mostly placeholder. At the top of the screen are several icons which are all shortcuts into different parts of the menu system. If the icons on the heads-up display are looking familiar, that is because they are nearly identical to Genshin Impact. And it's not just on the HUD. The inside of the menu is also very reminiscent of Genshin, from the layout to the architecture, to even the way the characters pose on each page. It's fine to take inspiration from other games, but unfortunately this reskin doesn't suit Wuthering Waves. The menus are dense and confusing, and the icons look too similar to one another, and this text is way too bulky and crowded. While the item thumbnails look great, the echo portraits need some work. Many of the front-facing portraits are hard to recognize, and a side profile would have worked much better. Speaking of echoes, the filter and sort system is a mess, with way too many tags in this tiny box, and despite all the options, we struggled to get it to show us what we wanted. Since the echoes can have set bonuses, an option to save echo loadouts is desperately needed. As it stands, moving a shared set of echoes between characters is a huge hassle. PGR has the memory loadout system working nicely, so we're confident this feature will be in the final release. Another reason the UI design is weak is this overcommitment to the simplified black and gold aesthetic. Take these icons on the main menu. If we hit the text, would you have any idea what this meant? Nier Automata is proof that you can have a monotone menu that is both intuitive and beautiful, but this, unfortunately, is not it. We even kinda missed the watch menu from the tech test. It was unusual and had potential. Wuthering Waves would do well to forget about Genshin Impact's menus and create something that properly suits their game. If it were up to us, we'd clear off all these icons at the top of the HUD and have just one entry point into the menu, such as the escape key or start button on a controller. From the main menu, we'd put tabs at the top to toggle between characters, echoes, inventory, inbox, and settings. Then each of those categories would be the appropriate submenus, like having teams under characters and crafting under inventory. The inbox would contain things like your mail, friend requests, and game news. We'd also remove the character models from every page except the character pages, and use this real estate for more relevant data. We found that the only time it's actually helpful to see the character model is when quickly checking the weapon they have equipped. You could also use this opportunity to show what echoes they have equipped as well. The good news is that there's still plenty of time to upgrade the UI. After all, the beta version of PGR was a bit of a disaster. The current game UI is actually pretty good. However, fresh UI won't solve everything. After all, we haven't even addressed our grievances with the leveling systems. Number 2. Leveling up. The power progression in Wuthering Waves feels a bit convoluted. This is for 2 reasons: the frequent resource roadblocks and the sprawling number of level up currencies. The combination of the 2 makes leveling up both intimidating and frustrating. While you can explore the world to your heart's content and even defeat any boss any number of times, you have to pay this game's version of energy in order to accept resource rewards for doing so. Don't worry, you can open chests, solve puzzles, and farm echoes all you like. It's only the other rewards you have to shell out for. Our main issue is not that this system exists, but rather that the rewards for energy are absolutely minuscule. It feels so bad to use an entire day's worth of energy only to get barely anything back. The type of rewards obtained from spending energy are very important to game progression, so unfortunately the low rewards prevent you from having fun in other ways. Take, for example, the echo catching system. Theoretically, we should be able to catch echoes as much as we want after our energy runs out, but unfortunately we get blocked by the terminal level up system. In this game, our terminal is like a Pokédex that we can level up through catching and powering up monsters known as echoes. The higher the terminal level, the rarer the echoes we can catch. But, say we've caught all the echo types the current terminal level will let us get, and we're all out of energy. No energy means we can't earn more echo experience items until tomorrow, so no matter how hard we try, we can't expand our monster roster. A system like this seems good on the surface until you realize that even activities that seem like they don't require energy actually do require it, thanks to a dependency with another system that does. We understand that gacha games need some way to keep the player coming back day after day, but it also needs to have a self-sustaining gameplay loop that won't be slowed down by other systems. We recommend breaking the echo farming loop free of the energy requirement by removing the terminal level up system entirely, and allowing us to level up echoes by recycling duplicate echoes. Then players can focus on catching them all to their heart's content while waiting for their energy to recharge. Alright, let's move on to the currencies. Almost everything in Wuthering Waves has a leveling up system associated with it. Characters, echoes, weapons, the terminal, and even the world. All the systems are a little different, so let's focus on just one of them, like the weapon system. Each weapon starts at level 1 and can be leveled up with common experience materials until it hits a level cap. This cap can be raised with a special item, let's call it a thingamabob. Thingamabobs can only be obtained through farming stages using energy. That's right, the energy juice again. On top of being restricted by time, what makes this frustrating is that there are so many different types of weapon thingamabobs to keep track of. Every weapon type, rarity, and level cap requires a different type of thingamabob. Springs, cogs, tubes, whatever this is. We can't keep track of what goes with what, so we rely on the in-game locator, which fortunately points us towards a dungeon we can get it at. We go to the dungeon, but there are a dozen different challenges here, so we pull up the weapon menu again to check which thingamabob we need. Don't bother trying to memorize it, the required thingamabob will be different at the next level cap. To make matters worse, certain thingamabobs are only available on certain days, which is clearly meant to slow down power progression of the player, but why? Who cares if the really dedicated players make it to endgame sooner? After all, the most hardcore player base will max out their stats as quickly as possible, so this resource blocking system only serves to frustrate everyone while barely slowing down the more dedicated players. Sure, we appreciate that the drops aren't RNG, but that doesn't mean the current system is good. Characters also have level caps that are unlocked with special items, which can be bought from certain vendors with another rare currency. This special item is different for different characters depending on their elemental power. So I need a blue Dorito for Yang Yang. Wait, was it the light blue Dorito or the dark blue Dorito? This kind of memory test is also in play with the crafting system. There are a lot of things to craft, and it's easy to forget what to craft between menus. We'd like to see a prompt to craft things we're missing automatically, and show how many items we have so we don't have to backtrack and check. A shopping list to keep track of what you need to go gather and buy would be well appreciated too. We could go on, but I think you get the point. Fortunately, the solution to the resource issue is easy. Simply consolidate them, have all the weapons use one type of thingamabob for raising level cap, and allow players to farm dungeons any day of the week. Allow players to buy what they need directly with one currency instead of having a dozen currencies to get odds and ends. By removing the resource bottlenecks and confusing currencies, Wuthering Waves will allow players to focus on what they came to the game for: story, exploration, and super fun boss fights. The skill-based systems are what set Wuthering Waves apart from the competition, so its leveling system should feed into that gameplay loop and let it really shine instead of hindering player progression. As an example, PGR removed energy requirements on many of the stages, adding instant auto battle for farming, and has a relatively simple upgrade process for characters and equipment. With these roadblocks out of the way, we find ourselves continuing to come back so we can play the fun parts of the game. Wuthering Waves could have this too if it just got out of its own way. Finally, our number one hope for Wuthering Waves is an improved gacha system. Gacha is a touchy subject for live service games. After all, these systems allow a game to stay alive, and players willing to spend will keep the game ad-free and available for non-spending players. Kurogame needs to find the right balance of free features and paid incentives. In the closed beta test, Wuthering Waves Gacha works like this. Pool currencies earned slowly through the main story quests, first-time boss rewards, and regular daily and weekly missions. We assume that when more special events come out, pool currency will be included in those rewards too. Unfortunately, we can't speak to how quickly pool currency can be obtained for free since the gameplay pace will vary depending on the player, but we can talk about the banner experience. Each banner features rate-ups for 1 5-star character and 3 4-star characters. However, while the visible characters have an increased rate, there's also a chance to get non-featured characters and weapons. Every 10 pulls, you are guaranteed a 4-star character or a 4-star weapon. By 90 pulls, you're guaranteed a 5-star character. There's a 50% chance this character will be the one on the banner, and a 50% chance it will be a different available 5-star character. If you don't get the banner character on the first 90 pulls, you're guaranteed to get them by the next 90 pulls. This effectively makes the pity for a 5-star character 180 pulls total. Within that 180 pulls, you will get a mix of at least 17 4-star characters and weapons. Duplicate characters can be used to unlock the rest of a character's combat kit, while duplicate weapons can be either equipped, used to enhance another copy of the same weapon, or used for experience fodder. If this sounds familiar, it may be because this system is identical to the gacha system of Genshin Impact. Unfortunately, this left us feeling disappointed. At the start, pulling was exciting. Every character was a new character, so we didn't really care who we got. However, that feeling of excitement wore off quickly. With no way to improve the chances of getting a certain reward, the randomness of the results began to wear thin. Ivy desperately wanted a single copy of the 4-star character Taochi, but didn't get her until the 381st pull. Taochi isn't even considered rare, and she was one of the rate-up characters. And for the record, Ivy lost the 50-50 pity 3 times in a row. With no way to improve the chances of getting a specific character or weapon, it was impossible to develop a pull or resource strategy. Instead, we were at the mercy of the random 4-stars and forced to build our teams around whatever RNG gave us. This is bad for both casual and hardcore players. Casual players may not get their favorite characters, and hardcore players will have trouble building meta teams. At least not without crossing an ocean of random pull results. We'll admit it, we've been spoiled by punishing Grey Raven. PGR has a 100% rate at pity for debuting characters, separate weapon banners, and a way to significantly increase the rate of specific characters. But just because we're spoiled doesn't mean the system doesn't work. PGR's gacha system eliminates much of the disappointment factors of gacha, and instead allows the players to plan their teams according to their preferred playstyle. Because players have more control over their rewards, it's easier to justify supporting this game with a purchase. Gacha in PGR functions more like buying a character in a cash shop rather than praying for a lucky pull. In a game like Wuthering Waves, where each character has a unique moveset and a lovable personality, giving players the ability to recruit their favorites makes them more attached to their teams. Being more attached to your team means being more willing to spend money on duplicates or a skin for them. A team of decked out favorites is way more fun to play than making do with characters you're forced to play with thanks to RNG. Our hope is that Wuthering Waves adjusts their gacha system to one that is similar to PGR. Generous systems like this may seem risky to the bottom line, but such a competitive model will garner praise and attract more players, which will naturally include spenders too. After all, the things that make Wuthering Waves great are the things that set it apart from the competition. The intense and fantastic combat, swift and nimble world travel, unusual and breathtaking landscapes, and unique and appealing characters. These are the features that truly make the game shine, and if the game is built to embrace these features instead of blocking them, the game is sure to do well. Fortunately, Kurogame has shown itself to be open to feedback, as Wuthering Waves has already been significantly overhauled between the technical test and the closed beta test. A major example of this is the character designs, and you can check out this video to see just how much they changed thanks to thoughtful player feedback.
What do you mean they just sent a tweet out? They're gonna fix everything we asked for?